Hi friend, welcome to my channel. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to show you how to edit a photo in the Lightroom app. Lightroom is one of my favorite apps to use. I'm a professional photographer. I've been a professional photographer for 12 years, and this app is what I edit my photos in. It makes your photos look super professional, super clean, and this is what all the professional photographers use. They all use Lightroom, the Lightroom software, and so I'm showing you the Lightroom app on your phone. And one of the coolest parts is Lightroom app is free, okay? So the Lightroom app is free, and that's super cool. So I'm gonna show you today how to create a really great image in the Lightroom app. And if you want my free guide, I have a guide on all the equipment that I use as a professional photographer, the equipment that I use for videography, the equipment that I use for smartphone photography. I have a full, complete, detailed guide of the things that I use, why I use them, when I use them, some of the things that I would love to replace, some of the things that I wish I had bought cheaper, and also my wish list on there. So you can grab that guide below in the comments. Okay, so one of the things that you can do to have really great photos is you can go into your settings. Now I'm on an iPhone, but I know that you can also do this with Android. But what you can do is go into your settings and go under your camera, go to formats, and you can do high efficiency, and you can go Apple Pro RAW. So you can make these RAW files so you have a little bit more to play with in the Lightroom app. But I will say that this makes your files really large. So if you're doing like a headshot shoot or a branding shoot and you're doing it all with your phone, you may want to do that for those photos, but then turn this off for like, you know, everyday, like catching stories and stuff like that. Otherwise it's gonna fill up your memory card really fast. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the Lightroom app. And I'm gonna edit this photo here that I took today from my branding shoot. And one of the things I wanted to let you know is that when you shoot with your smartphone, the smartphones automatically kind of shoot your photos flat and low contrast. So you almost always really wanna like pump that up either with a filter or in an app like Lightroom. You can adjust the light, the darkness, the contrast, and things like that. So I'm gonna show you that as well today. The first thing I always do with a photo though is I crop in, okay? So there's a lot of dead space here in this photo that doesn't need to be there, and I am going to go ahead and crop that out. I don't need this entire umbrella and the chair and all that to really get a feel for what's happening in this photo. The other thing I can do is I can tap these three boxes on the bottom left where it says 4x3. That's the original, but I can also do a 1x1 for Instagram, or I can do a 9x16, which would be for like Facebook or something like that. I'm gonna go ahead and make this one for Instagram, and I am gonna come in and crop in a little bit, move this over like that, and just kind of really zoom in on the action here. I'm gonna get rid of this umbrella altogether. And boom, that looks really nice. The next thing I'm gonna do is I am gonna come in here with the healing tool. So that's that little band-aid here on the left. And what I can do is zoom in on my face, and I can adjust this. This is my brush size. I want this to be small. I have a little mark on the top of my head that I want to get rid of. So I'm just gonna tap right there, boom, it's gone. If I had messed up on that, I could tap this back arrow at the top and reset the healing brush, but I do like the way it did that. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap that, and then I'm gonna come down here to the right and check that off. And then I have some great preset filters already in here, and you can upload a lot of preset filters to Lightroom. There are so many different photographers, great photographers have created those that you can purchase from them for pretty cheap and have some great preset filters. I love the light and airy preset, so I'm gonna just tap this here for the presets, and I have different ones in here that I can go with, the matte. One of my favorites to go with is the half power. And what's really great about presets is if you are trying to create a cohesive look on Instagram, a lot of those really great Instagram accounts that just look like it's the same photo and over and over again, it's because they're using the same filter. They've shot in different areas, different lights and things like that, but they're using the same filter on all of their photos, so it looks very cohesive. So I could use this filter, but today I want to show you how to use the Lightroom app without using a filter. So I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. So I could push the auto button, and auto does a pretty good job, but that's not what I want to do today. So I'm going to go ahead and reset that as well. I'm going to take that auto settings out, and I'm going to come over here to the light button, and this is where I can really kind of create my own preset, or to really like bump up the lightness, the contrast, and all of that without using a filter. This is what I would do, okay? So in every photo is a little bit different, but for this photo, I'm gonna up the exposure a little bit, which is adding some brightness to it. So I'm gonna up the exposure. I'm gonna boost the contrast so it's not so flat to about a 10. I'm gonna take down the highlights. And I'm gonna up the shadows as well because I'm a little bit in the shade here and the background is very bright. I'm gonna up the blacks and take down the whites, okay? And one of the ways I can check my work is if I just tap and hold on the photo, it'll show me the before, and then when I let go, it shows the after. So before and after, okay? I like the way that looks. So I'm gonna go over here to the color, and this is where I can do my white balance, okay? So if there was something like a pure white or a pure light gray, I could just grab this little dauber here and click somewhere in the photo and it will white balance it for me. Oh, so that would be a custom white balance, or I can do an auto white balance. It almost looks the same. Or I could use these sliders to add for the temperature and the tint. I can use the temperature and tint sliders to add some warmth to this photo or to cool it down, okay? So I'm gonna go right back up here. I could also add some magenta or some green. So if there was a lot of green reflection, like let's say this was like a really green forest, I was on a green lawn, I might wanna add some magenta because that green is bouncing back onto my skin tone. But here I'm not gonna add that. There's also vibrance and saturation. So I can up the vibrance, I could up the saturation. Vibrance, it saturates things that aren't very colorful. So the saturation, it affects every color in the photo. When you toggle with both, it really allows for everything to stand out without it looking too busy. So that is the color. And then we're gonna go to effects. So I could add some effects to this. So for one, if I wanted to take down the texture and blur some things out, or if I wanted to add some texture to it. Now, when I am editing a portrait, maybe you want to take down the texture. Maybe you got a few wrinkles you don't want everybody to see, okay? So you would take down the texture. If it was more of like a landscape or like a background or something like that, maybe you would up the texture, okay? Or some food, like food photography, you would up the texture. And then the same with the clarity. So the clarity is also very similar to texture, where it's going to either blur the image a little bit or make it a little crispier. Dehaze is something that you would use if there was fog or smoke, or let's say you were shooting into the sun and it just got a little hazier than you wanted it to be. You could use the dehaze button here. Then vignette actually adds some darkness around the photo. So I'm going to show you how the vignette looks. So that just adds some darkness around. And with this midpoint, that changes the midpoint of that vignette. So if I go really big, let me go really dark on the vignette, and then I can change the midpoint. You can see that there we're sort of going in and going out. And then I can also change the roundness of that vignette, okay? I'm gonna take that down a little bit because that's a little higher than I'd like it to be. Okay, and then the last thing I'm gonna go over is the optics, okay? So I'm not gonna go into these other buttons here, but I'm gonna go into the optics. I do like to enable the lens correction, okay? That's one thing that I definitely do. The lens correction is gonna help correct whatever distortion that the lens might have created. So I definitely like to push that. And then that is my photo. So I'm gonna go ahead and push the before and the after, and that's how I use the Lightroom app to adjust a photo. Now, I usually don't do all of those things. To be perfectly honest, I really like my presets, but sometimes I do need to come in and kind of just work with the photo on my own, and that's how I do it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. This is what professional photographers use to edit photos, usually on their computer, but this is really great for smartphone photos. It's a great app and it's free. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Again, if you want to know more about the equipment that I use as a professional photographer, as a videographer, and as a smartphone photographer, you can grab my free guide below. Again, I give you all my details about why I use these pieces of equipment, what I use them for, if I still love them, and if I don't, and if I'd like to upgrade those things in my wish list for that. Grab that guide in the link below and check me out in the next video.